What's going on? Welcome to another live edition of Real Fans Real Talk. We are back and happy to be here. Got some things going on in the sports world right now. The playoffs, it's a couple of surprises in the NBA right now. But a lot of things moving and grooving in the Eastern Conference Finals and in the Western Conference Finals. Got a little bit of boxing news that we got to talk about later on in the show. Somebody was
We
being very
gotta
naughty.
we gotta get to
Uh,
it.
and of course, shout out to my Yankees, first place in the American League right now. Loving that. But before we get into all of that, let me introduce my co-host, my brother, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games. What's going on, man?
What's really good, bro? You already know we got a lot to get into, so I don't even want to waste too much time on the intro. Let's get to it, man. The people already in the comment section. Let's get to it.
Let's go. We start from the top. Shout out to Terrence. Terrence says, "Who y'all liking tonight's game? Should we put the brakes on this? Ant Man is the new Michael Jordan." Well, first of all, as much we said he was going to be the future face of the league. We never
Mhm.
said he was start doing the Michael Jordan comparisons. I don't compare nobody to Michael Jordan. People been trying to do that from freaking from LeBron to Vince to Harold Miner to Kobe. Like this, let's stop that. Just be you go in the league and play ball, get buckets, be who you are, be one of the all-time greats. I'm not trying to compare nobody to Michael Jordan because the thing about trying to compare people to Michael Jordan is it's like trying to compare yourself to God. Like this, it's just there's some people like you're never gonna get past what Michael Jordan was able to do it, and he earned that right to be referred to as the GOAT. So to try to put that on somebody on anybody realistically, and knowing that you're really not gonna live up to that. Like it's damn near impossible to live up to saying, all right, this is the new Michael Jordan. So let that man rock. He's balling right now. He's playing at a very high level. He's ascending into superstar status. Obviously, they're down right now 0-2 in the series. So he's gonna have to do something tonight to get back, which I think he will. But we got to stop with this trying to compare. Every time the nice two guard or the nice wing comes up, oh, he's gonna be the next Michael Jordan. We got to stop that.
Shout out to Terrence. I want to say, in regards to the Michael Jordan comment, think about the people who try to push this narrative. This is certain sports media outlets who look for clickbait, who look for your attention, so they will say these random things. I heard Stephen A. Smith, who I love. I love Stephen A. Smith. No, none against Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith has definitely paved the way for guys like Tripp and I to be able to talk sports on this platform. But for him to say immediately that Anthony Edwards now was in the same, like he said, of the same elk of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant is extremely disrespectful. There are plenty other two guards that are in front of Anthony Edwards in that line that he just completely jumped by putting him in the conversation with Mike and Kobe. I mean, we're only talking about 11 rings between those two guys. Let Anthony Edwards get to a finals, let alone win a finals before you start putting him in a conversation with those guys. That's first. As you mentioned, Trip, we never said that. We both said last week before this series started that we thought Anthony Edwards could be the face of the league and that we would love for him to be the face of the league because he represents the playing style and the mindset that we love. He's an absolute dog. We know that. So we definitely should put that to bed. And I think you, to even be in a conversation with Mike, you got to at least have two championships. I think unless you got two championships, you can't even be in a conversation with Mike. Just because you look great at points throughout your career, you just can't jump the line. Because if we're talking two guards, how do you automatically jump ahead of D Wade? Just because you're having a good playoff series. Like, how do you just jump ahead of a lot of these guys? So there's that. For tonight, I think Minnesota wins tonight. They are desperate. They have to win. They understand their season is on the line. So I think tonight they do have a bounce back effort. But it will be very interesting to see because Ant has not played well the first two games of the series. Jaden McDaniels really struggled in game two after he had a really good game one. And one of the things I highlighted last week has really shown itself. Rudy Gobert is struggling in the pick and roll. And I'm not just talking about that game winning shot the other night. You look at game two, Dallas is getting a lot of lobs at the rim. They're putting them in, the spin cycle, they put them in pick and roll, and they're getting a lot of lobs to their big men at the rim. So Minnesota's gonna have to make some adjustments. I do think they win tonight, though, to at least make it a series.
Yeah, I agree. I got Minnesota winning tonight. Let me put up Justin's comment up here. Justin Frizion, what up? Anthony Edwards looks regular now. He shoots too many three balls. Um, it- Listen, it happens sometimes. Um, I think It's hard because now I can't even say certain sayings because then I got to pause everything. But I think they it was a tough series for them versus Denver. And I think they just kind of got like this was like a wake up call. I think the series is gonna go to 7. Um, but I do think that Anthony Edwards cannot get locked in shooting too many threes. Like he has to get back to what got them to where they are, and that's attacking. The mid range, then stepping out and shooting the three. But you got to get back to that. I'm trying to dunk on everybody that ever lived. Get back to that mentality in this series.
It's tough because I think he's settling because the level of athleticism is different now with Dallas than compared to Denver. Denver's a very slow, methodical team. Dallas is very high energy, a lot of athletes, a lot of long athletes, pause. But Derek Jones, you saw in the turnover the other night that led to the Luka three. Derek Lively, who's a big man, gets caught on him, and Derek Lively plays great defense, doesn't leave his feet, forces a turnover. So that's the difference. Against Denver, I think he was the most explosive player on the court. I don't think he's the most athletic player on the court. He might be the best athlete of those, but he's not the most athletic guy. So there's a difference here, and I think that's why he's settling because he's starting to realize, as you mentioned, Trip, I can't just dunk on the world. It's a little different when I'm getting caught on Lively or Gafford or PJ Washington, guys who can actually get up and down the court with me.
Yeah, let me go to Dion Hope's page. Comment. Shout out to Dion Hope's page. I don't think people saying he MJ. I think some of his exciting style of play is the reason. Well, so that's the narrative that's being, or at least trying to be painted throughout certain media outlets. That's one of the narratives that we were running with because they were on. You know how that gets people in the media, especially now, become prisoners of the moment very easily. So it's like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, they finish, in the top 3 in the West. Then they get to the playoffs, they sweep, Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns. Then they go in and beat the world champion Denver Nuggets, which most people did not have them
Mm-hmm.
going into the series. And Anthony Edwards is playing at an all time high. And even that last game when he didn't have 40, I think he finished what was that 16. He finished with that
And
last
game
that last
seven.
game
Mm-hmm.
in game 7, but he turned up in the second half defensively. So you still got to see that that guy who we say is going to be the next face of the NBA. Now he done cooled down because this is a whole different style of play that you're dealing with the Dallas Mavericks, and you saw 3 different styles with 3 different teams, and you got to get what I'm saying, you got to adjust your defense now. Now it comes down to the coaching. Can you adjust to what Dallas is doing? Because it's not the same thing as what Denver was doing, and it's not the same thing as what Phoenix was doing. So now you got to adjust to that, but that's the narrative that is that's been being painted is the Jordan comparisons. But again, like Eric said, if you don't even have 2 rings, we shouldn't even be mentioning you in the same breath as Jordan. And that's no disrespect to Anthony Edwards because again, we're giving him the praise of saying we feel like he's the next face of the NBA, which is a big statement. So a big accolade to give to a player. So, you know,
Shout out to Dion Hoops page. Um, I think they were comparing him to Mike, and not us particularly. And I don't think anyone in the comment section was ever saying that. But there were some of these platforms that were quick to say, "Oh, he's the next Michael Jordan," and that is a comparison directly to Mike.
yeah,
And I think it's very premature. Again, you got a lot of young men to win. Are we excited about what we've seen from Anthony Edwards? Are we excited about the energy and the mindset that he's brought to the game? Absolutely, we love to see it, and he is one of the guys that we tune into night in, night out now. But again, you're talking about completely jumping the line. Tripp mentioned some very exciting 2 guards when we talked about, the D Wades, the Vince Carters. There were some guys that we all love to watch, but that does not necessarily mean you're automatically in the conversation with Mike just because we love to watch you.
yeah,
So that was a real thing that some of these other platforms was pushing right there.
absolutely. Shout out to Hoopballer Scoop. Do y'all believe a 22-year-old can be tired? Say him guarding Kyrie is taking a toll. What y'all think? I mean, anybody can be tired if you got to guard some of the best players in the world on a night in night out basis, and we're on to the Western Conference Finals. Anybody could be tired if you haven't been to that point and don't understand the conditioning that it takes to get to make a deep playoff run like that, to get to an NBA Finals, to play in the Olympics, and right after that to come back around the next season and to do it all again for consecutive years, like the Warriors did, like the Cavs did, like you know like the Lakers did with Shaq and Kobe. The Spurs, it takes a lot to continue to get back. So yeah, it's possible with 'cause, I don't think anybody that's on that Timberwolves roster has been farther than the Western Conference Finals.
No, they haven't. It is very possible he's tired. This was something I mentioned last week. Shout out to Will Gordon. I know he'll be in the comment section soon. And Will Gordon was like, "Oh, he's 22. He can't get tired. Why can't he get tired?" Anthony Edwards has played nonstop since last summer. It's going on a year straight of basketball for him, because he was part of the summer team last year. And let's not forget, this is also the most games he's ever played in a season. He's never advanced to this point in a season before. So you're talking about a guy who has well over 100 games under his belt within the last year, and he's chasing around someone who's super active and someone who requires all of your attention for any duration that you're on the court. And we're talking about Kyrie Irving. This is why I didn't like when Anthony Edwards came out and said, "Oh, I got Kyrie." You sure about that? You sure you just want to throw that out there? Because Kyrie, for as great of a player as he is on ball, we forget how high IQ and how great he is off ball. Kyrie will run you off of 3 or 4 screens before he gets the ball, and then run you off another 3 or 4 screens and wear you down. And oh, by the way, Anthony Edwards is expected to be the primary creator on the other end of the court. So it is very possible he might be tired. Now, I think tonight he goes all in. He understands that he has not played well the first 2 games. He has not played well the last 3 games of these playoffs. Shout out to Amani for pointing out. Right. As Amani highlighted, he has not played well since Game 7 against Denver. So I think tonight Anthony Edwards goes all in. But I think we're starting to see a little fatigue in the young man. And I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to talk about that narrative as the series plays out.
Let me go to Kyrie McKnight's comment. So who else for many has to step up? Well, first and foremost, Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah,
brother, you got to do more than that. And I like Jaden McDaniels because that was one of my guys on 2K. After when you get in the franchise and you get like 3-4 years in and you start seeing the new cast that's coming in, that was one of my guys from 2K. So I'm happy for him that he's been able to do what he's done this season. But he has to step his game all the way up. Karl Anthony Towns has to step his game all the way up in this series. And then Anthony Edwards, we got to give him some accountability too. He has not played well in these first 2 games. So you have to come out tonight and set the tone. And sometimes Kobe's got to go put the team on his back and score 40 for 10 straight games. Sometimes LeBron got to do that. Sometimes Wade got to do that. Sometimes when you're an all-time great, sometimes MJ's, the Magics, the Birds, you have to do that. You guys got to say, you know what? Now, I'm going to make it so difficult to stop me. It don't even matter what anybody else is doing because we're going to have this momentum from the start of tip-off and to the end of that game, and I'm going to show you I'm him, and that's it.
I think tonight, aside from Edwards, obviously you need Cat to play better, shoot better. Specifically, you need Jaden McDaniels to play better and play more like Game 1 than he did in Game 2. But for me, I'm looking at a vet like Mike Conley, because Mike Conley, as you mentioned, is the only player on this team that's played in the Western Conference Finals before when he was with the Grizzlies. As a veteran on the road, he's got to be able to control this game. He's got to make sure that every offensive possession is a positive offensive possession. Not necessarily scoring every possession, but we can't have bad turnovers. We can't have bad shots. We have to value every possession because, as we've seen, these first 2 games of these series are very close. And a couple bad possessions could cost you a game. Mike Conley, I think, has to be the true vet that they signed him to be. He's got to carry this thing. He's got to make sure that every possession is quality. Every shot for Anthony or for Cat is a quality shot. He's the one guy I'm definitely paying attention to tonight.
Yeah. We go to Imani. Shout out to Imani. Shout out to Imani's dad too. My dad always says you got to play Rudy less, which y'all think. This may be a series where you can play Rudy less. Like that last series, the Denver series, I was hearing a lot of, oh, you got to bench Gobert and this. No, that was a series where you needed Gobert on the floor. Like it is what it is. He had his moments where he struggled, but that's Rudy Gobert. He's not one of those guys offensively where he's putting up 25 to 30 points a night. We know what we're gonna get from him, but what you need from him on the defensive end of the floor is the reason why he has to be in that series. this is a series where you can break things up a little bit and be strategic with how you play uh Cat Williams, Carlin Towns, excuse me, Carlin Towns, Gobert, and Nas Reed, who has been playing very well this entire playoffs. Like, Nas Reed has really been on a dominant playoff run in his own right. So you can be more strategic with how you play in the big men in this series. I would say yes.
Yeah, styles make fights. I said this series would be very difficult for him because they were going to space him out and they were going to force him to defend further out from the rim. So, Amani, your dad is correct in this series. But with that being said, I don't think you play him less. I think you just figure out the lineups that work best. I don't think you can play him and Cat for extended minutes together. But if you're going to just go with one single big as Rudy and then space the floor, I think you can get away with that a little bit. But to play two bigs consistently throughout this series, I don't think that part works.
And that's going to come down to coaching. So we're going to see the adjustments that are being made. Shout out to Hoop Central. He says they're saying Luka is a game time decision. Would you rest Luka tonight, get him somewhat healed, and come back game 4, or not go for the kill tonight? That's that honestly that's a tough question, and that's a big coaching decision because on the one side of that, you did what you were supposed. You really far exceeded what you were supposed to do because generally the goal would be really to go in and steal one on the road. You went in there and got 2 on the road, so now you come back home in a situation where it's like, you know what, we could really put our foot on their necks and do what we got to do at home to go up 3-0, and play Luca. But then if something, if Luca gets hurt and now you miss him, he has to sit out for, let's say, 2 games in the series. That changes the series completely. Obviously, we don't know who if a player is going to get injured or not. But if they're talking about sitting him for a game, then obviously there's something going on where they're concerned and they want to play cautious with how they use him. But again, you went in on the road and took those first 2 games, so you did give yourself the cushion to say, all right, we're at home these next 2 games. If we rest Luca, let the you know what I'm saying, and we don't win, all right, we still got game 4 right here. Luca comes back for game 4. We can be 3-1 heading back to Minnesota.
Um, I say you play him and you go for the kill. There is a tremendous difference between being up 2-1 in a series and being up 3-0 in a series. As we know, no team has ever come back from 3-0. You worry about tonight. And if you're Dallas and you can win tonight and go up 3-0, if you want to rest him game 4, then you rest him game 4. But you go for the kill tonight. You don't give Minnesota any opportunity to gain momentum. You try to win tonight. And listen, worst case scenario, you guys get off to a slow start. If you're getting blown out in the second half and you want to sit Luka for most of the second half, then you can get away with that. But I'm going into the game trying to win this game and trying to put them to bed right now. I'm not going to give these guys any type of momentum to come in, steal a game 3. Luka didn't play, and then create doubt within my own team as to whether Luka is healthy enough to finish this series. I'm going for it all tonight. I think Jason Kidd will have that same mindset as well. I highly doubt at this point in the season, with everything that you're playing for, that you would rest Luka tonight. You go for it all.
Yeah, I don't think Luca's gonna be down with you resting. So I don't think we gotta even worry about that. Shout out to Kyrie McKnight. Talk about Kyrie Irving's playoffs. I just love how he fits Mavs and Luca and Kyrie since Cavs days. Has had negative ish about to say about him. Some is his fault, but I love how he has grown. Yes, he got to Dallas and everybody was down on him. Because of everything that went down in Brooklyn and in the stops in Boston before that, and how he exited Cleveland. But since he's been in Dallas, I don't think I've heard a negative story about Kyrie Irving since he's been in Dallas, and that's even with them playing as bad as they played last season to finish the season, not making the playoffs. They just came right back, had a good draft, made a couple of tweaks to that lineup in the off season, and they find themselves right back in the Western Conference Finals, up 2-0 with a chance to move on to the NBA Finals. So you gotta give Kyrie his props for letting people know at the end of the day, I'm still one of the greatest to ever play this game, and I know how to win basketball games, and I can contribute to a team and help them win games, and that's what we're seeing right now. That 1-2 punch with him and Luca is something special. I know a lot of people thought it couldn't work, and you're well within your right to feel that way because of
Mhm.
how things went last season. But now, once you make a couple of tweaks to that roster, things look a lot different this season than they did last season. And you got to give Kyrie his props because he's making big bucket after big bucket for these guys.
I'll say Kyrie, kudos to him for stepping into the leadership role that he's displayed with Dallas, because that was one of the knocks on him, that he wasn't a leader and that he was a guy who was a little selfish. And when we talk about, the stories about Kyrie and the negative things, it was really just about his communication and his interaction with his teammates. It seems like Dallas, not only has he grown as a leader, but he's kind of embraced the role with the younger team of being the guy that, hey, I can show you guys how to get this done this time of year. I think also it speaks to the volumes of the embrace that he's felt from Mark Cuban and Jason Kidd, because from the time he's been there, they've said 1,000% he's our guy. They gave him the new contract when a lot of people weren't sure if he would be re-signed by the Mavs. So it goes hand in hand. Dallas has shown the trust in him, and he's rewarded Dallas by being the leader that they needed to go with Luka. So I love what I've seen from Kyrie. He was a guy who I thought had to play better in this series, and he has played better. And this is why you bring Kyrie over, right, Trip? Like, you saw it with LeBron in the playoffs. Kyrie is a guy, he's a big money guy. He's when the chips are on the line, everything is there on the table. Kyrie shows up, and he's shown it again that maybe during the regular season, I might take some nights off, right? During the regular season, I might not be, as consistent. But when the money's on the line, there are very few guys that you trust more than Kyrie Irving, because time in, time out, he's shown you this is when he shows up.
Yeah. Listen, man, I'm looking forward to tonight's game. Let me throw up just before I go back some comments we missed back there. Um, Hope Central says I'm watching TNT free show. Why the hell do they keep having Draymond Green on? He just don't fit to me with them guys. Listen, obviously, the call should have came to myself and Eric to be up there to, I'm saying, for that spot. But, Draymond got 4 rings, so they went with they was like, all right, we'll go with Draymond for this one. We would love to be there as well. I do like Draymond in the media, but every role may not be the right role for you.
Mm-hmm.
I watched him on Shaq's podcast. I thought him and Shaq had a great chemistry on his podcast. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's more of the setting I like for Draymond Green. But it is what it is.
I'm not the biggest Draymond fan. I understand his position with new media, and maybe this is TNT trying to just kind of get as much as they can out of the show, because as we know, there are rumblings that the show is going to be over after this year with the new TV deals and how TNT has kind of been pushed out of the way. But I don't know. I just don't get. To me, Draymond, there are times where his opinion comes across as very biased, just from the sports analytics aspect. Like, even the other night, I thought it was a little classless of him. Like, the fans are joking with him and they booing him, and oh, Draymond, you suck. Rudy sucks, not me. Like, bro, why are you trying to take jabs at other guys that are still playing right now? Like, again, it speaks to his bias. Him and Rudy have had their issues in the past, so that's the only thing I don't like about it. And I agree. I'm not the biggest fan of Draymond with this set. I think the TNT set works as is with just the 4 guys and the way that they kind of work off of each other.
Yeah.
But TNT is trying to get as much as they can out of this group before they call it quits.
Yeah. Shout out to Imani. Let me go to this comment. To me, Jason Tatum. I know y'all not y'all, but others putting Ant-Man above him. Tatum to me is better, but it's just me. I think the problem with Jason Tatum is, and it's like I said last week, when a dog mark his territory, you got to pee on the hydrant. Like, he don't mark his territory. Like, so the Celtics are a great team. They play well, right? Same thing with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're a great team. They play well. But Anthony Edwards has established himself as the alpha dog, right? Nobody else dropped a 40 piece yet in this playoffs for them. Who won the game for them the other night? Who put up 40 the other night for Boston? Jaylen Brown, right? So we don't know. Is it just Tatum? Is he the alpha? Is Jaylen Brown? Because you could argue Jaylen Brown might be the alpha on that team. And on any given night when it's not this guy is the number one guy every night, things start to get if you don't know what's going on with it. But like I said, but with Anthony Edwards, he's the alpha. He's that guy. He's the number one guy on that team. He's the number one option. He's gonna be hands down. He's gonna have the basketball in his hands when the game is on the line.
Yeah, I think what's happened here, Imani, is that Jason Tatum has become very complacent with some of the things that Boston does. And to Tripp's point, where we're questioning who's the alpha there. Anthony Edwards, night in, night out, he's letting you know it's my team, it's my show, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to win. Whereas Jason Tatum is almost too cool for school. Whereas it's some nights like, if I ain't got it, it's cool. He plays very smooth. He's very laid back, and he's a good ball player. Don't get me wrong. I think Jason Tatum's a very good ball player. But he just doesn't seem to assert himself in games sometimes. There are times where he will drift through the game, and you could go a whole quarter and a half where he really makes no impact. And that to me has to change for Jason Tatum. I agree. I think Jason Tatum is the better complete player. But he's got to show a little bit more, especially now, because Boston is the best team in terms of record-wise left in the playoffs. Boston is the team that's the favorite to win it all at this point. I would like to see Jason Tatum kind of have more of the foot on your neck attitude. Like, they get a chance to put the Pacers away. I expect them to put the Pacers away tomorrow. I would like to see Jason Tatum have one of those big games where to close it out, like, all right, it's done. We're not playing with you guys anymore. Let's go. But we'll see if he, kind of embraces that mentality.
Yeah. Let's get over to the Eastern Conference Finals.
What's that? What's that?
The Eastern Conference Finals?
Yeah. You mean the Boston scrimmages?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The Boston scrimmages. Let's call it what it is.
We kind of said that last week. This is how this thing was going to go.
I mean, but again, I wait for Will Gordon to jump in the comments because Will said it was disrespectful.
Yeah.
When I said Boston in 5, you said Boston might sweep them. Will was like, "That's disrespectful." Is it?
No.
A week later, the series is probably over, right?
They've been out there getting their boots smoked, and then now you don't even have Halliburton for game 3. You go down 3-0. This thing was over before it started, and we all knew that. And this, and again,
no excuses.
You want to talk about easy runs to the finals?
No excuses.
We not making excuses, but this was an easy run for them to the finals because you got Miami with no Jimmy Butler, and we know that's a team that can beat you guys.
Absolutely, that's a rivalry. That's a rivalry. We know that. That's different.
Yeah, and you luck up and play an Indiana team which you are clearly head and shoulders better than.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying, because of injuries to other teams. You know what I mean, and you're looking great, but you still got to get to the Western Conference. And I'm gonna tell you right now, either one of these teams is not going to be no easy cakewalk, unless somebody major gets injured, which will be some BS. But if everybody is healthy, there's no easy out with either one of these two teams because you got to stop maybe the best 1-2 punch in basketball on one end with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, and a Kyrie Irving who's probably going to be a little extra motivated to kick y'all asses because of how things went when he was playing for the Celtics. Or you got Ant-Man, who is playing at a very high level, a very energetic Minnesota team who plays defense as well as can put buckets on the board. So I think that's when you would really get your first kind of, all right, we might be in a series here, but I haven't seen that at this point in the playoffs.
Yeah, I want to say this though. I don't want to knock Boston for their run. Like you said, they've been very fortunate. Jimmy Butler gets hurt in the playing game, so they don't have to face him in the Miami series. Donovan Mitchell, though, they were better than the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell gets hurt and he misses 2 games in that series. And then you play Indiana, who probably was the most fortunate team out of all playoff teams because they faced a Milwaukee team that didn't have Giannis and didn't have Dame, and then all the injuries to the Knicks. No excuses, because it's ironic that, comment section crazy last week about no excuses. And now that the Pacers getting exposed, nobody wants to talk about the Pacers. I haven't seen one Pacer comment in the comment section, Trip. But the Celtics, to their credit, this is why you fight to become the number 1 seed, because you do want to create the easiest path possible to the finals. And the Celtics have handled their business, right? They took care of Miami in 5. They took care of Cleveland in 5. They got an opportunity to take care of the Pacers in 4. The Celtics have done everything they're supposed to do. And where it gets really interesting, as you said, the Western Conference matchup is going to be a lot tougher. But if they sweep and they finish this thing tomorrow, they're going to get a few days of rest, which means Porzingis might be ready for game 1. And then the Celtic dynamic really changes, because I think the Celtics with Porzingis are a really, 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 really good team. It changes the way they play. It changes their rim protection. You ain't got to rely on Al Horford to play 30 minutes a night. So for the Celtics,
even though he did set the record for oldest player to hit 7 threes in the game. So shout out to Al Horford for that.
Cool, good for him. But come finals, Trip, you and I both know we don't want Al Horford out there for 30 minutes a night. We just don't want that. So the Celtics have handled their business, and I think that part we've got to give kudos to, because they have not played with their food. They haven't played around with it. They're
doing what they're supposed to do.
Right. You might get one off us. But that's it. We're gonna run you out the gym every other game. So the Celtics are doing what they're supposed to do.
Sometimes during the games, they're still managing to get the wins.
Right.
But shout out to Justin Frizzillon. He says Boston Celtics are the best team in the world and have been, but don't it seem like injuries for the other teams have helped? Yeah, that's what we were just saying. You get a little boost from injuries sometimes, but again, that's all part of the game. Guys get injured every year, and sometimes it's a guy on your team, but sometimes it's a guy on the other team, and they get to break. That's just how it's going to be until the end of time. It is what it is.
Right.
Let me see. Let me go to Curry Thompson. Let me ask you all, overall playoffs have been a blast without Curry, Bron, and KD. Are you all shocked they've been this good without them names? Well, first of all, I think every series that the Celtics was in was trash. So I don't know if it's been that much more exciting. If we had saw a Knicks Celtics, then I would say yeah. Like the Western Conference has been on fire.
The Western Conference has been phenomenal.
Yes, the Eastern Conference not so much.
The best series in the East was the Knicks Pacers. That was the best series.
And it was only the best series because of so many injuries.
Because the Knicks were injured, right?
Yeah, probably would even look. Right. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, but to be fair, and I don't want to like knock the Pacers, but the first 2 games at MSG were really good games, right? The Knicks handled their business; they won. But to your credit, yes, as the series prolonged with the injuries, it made it more exciting because it kind of leveled the playing field. I think the Knicks were the better team, but the Pacers were the healthier team. And as the series went on, we saw that play out. The playoffs have been exciting overall, but Kyrie, I want to say I think last year's playoffs were exciting. And guess what? Last year, Curry and them got knocked out in the second round. KD and them got knocked out in the second round, and we got to start seeing some of the younger guys start to develop then as well. And last year's playoffs were exciting, I thought, because we had Jimmy Butler and the AFC Miami Heat who kept going on the road and winning these series. Yeah. So every year we see a new dynamic. And as much as we as fans love to see the names of Curry, Bron, and KD, it's always great to see what some of these younger guys can do in these moments and with these opportunities.
Yeah. Jason Tatum been balling his ass off. I know a lot of fans be critical of him, but he's been playing his ass off. What's the thing? He plays very well. He's a great basketball player. The critics that for Jason Tatum, just a lot of the time, or a lot of the things that we say, he doesn't put the stamp on himself like he is the alpha dog. That's the issue with Tatum. That's why he's not in the MVP conversation like he should be. He's not in the conversation for face of the NBA. Like why if the Celtics are the best team in basketball and Jason Tatum's supposedly the best player on that team, he's a superstar, he's an all-star, he's an all-NBA talent, but we're still not putting him in the conversation for face of the NBA. There's a reason for that. It's because of those things that we've been saying about him. He hasn't established himself as the alpha. You got to take the throne. You can't be nonchalant and laid back and all right, if we get it, yeah, we win. No, you got to be that one. I think 50 said in the one of them DVDs back in the day, he was like, "You tell me an artist that don't think he number one, I bet you he not signed." So you got to be the alpha, and they got to be clear because you made it clear. I'm the one. This is my team. I'm getting us there. And with Boston, we don't know. We don't know if you're the alpha on your own team.
Yeah, that's really what it is. We would love for him to take on that mindset of not only I'm the best player on this team, but I'm the best player in the world. And that's really where the criticism comes from, Kyrie. It's not about his game per se, because I mean he was first team All NBA. So a majority of people in the know feel he is one of the most talented players in the world. It's just that he is so nonchalant about it. He is so laid back, and he has moments, and it's even happened in these playoffs where he will just settle for threes as opposed to assert himself and kind of put his will and define a game. He will sit back and I'll shoot 7 threes tonight because they don't really need me to produce tonight, right? Like Jalen got it going on tonight, Drew Holiday got it going on tonight, and we would love to see Tatum kind of like assert himself a little bit more and say, no, this is my team and I'm the best player on this team, and I'm going to be the one to kill you. I don't need Drew Holiday to kill you because I can kill you. I don't need Jaylen Brown to kill you because I can kill you. That's what I would love to see from Jason Tatum tomorrow to end the series. And Jason Tatum, they get to the finals. Obviously, this would be their second finals in 3 years appearances. He gets an opportunity to redeem himself because he did not play well in that Golden State finals a couple years ago. So I think that's what I want to see from Jason Tatum as well. Don't be too cool for school. Don't be laid back with it just because you get into another finals. I want you to show the world that you are one of the top 4 or 5 best players in the world.
If you want to get in those conversations, then you have to not only win an NBA Finals, but you have to be named Finals MVP. That's the only way that you're going to get your name in those conversations when we're putting those lists together. When we're talking about the faces of the league, we're talking about the MVPs, things like that. You got to go out and win that Finals MVP and have people looking at Jason Tatum now at the way they see the LeBrons, the Stephs, the KDs over the years. They don't look at you like that right now. So, and it's not like he doesn't have the ability, because he does. He just has to put a stamp on it. What's your thoughts on the 3 All NBA teams? How did Kawhi or LeBron make a team? Well, LeBron's numbers were really good this season, and he played the bulk of the season this year. So, like, we can't disrespect Bron because he's on the All NBA. He should have been on one of the All NBA teams. I didn't have a problem with the list. I was glad they put Jalen Brunson where they put Jalen Brunson. That's what I said. He should have been on the second team, and I was hoping they didn't disrespect him and put him on the All NBA third team, and they didn't. They put him on the second team, where he should have been, because I can't put him in front of Shea or in front of Luka at the guard position. You know what I'm saying? I can't do that. Those guys, I mean, Shea, I thought should have been the MVP. Luka was in the MVP conversation. Jalen could have been in the MVP conversation, but his MVP conversation would have came like the last 3 weeks of the season going into the playoffs with how well he played throughout. But second team for him, I thought was great. Obviously, Jokic was going to be on the first team, and Giannis. And then again, like you said, Jason Tatum, first team All NBA. But we got the first team All NBA, but Luka, Shea, and Jokic were all in the MVP. That was the top 3 candidates for MVP. You got to do something to put yourself ahead of those guys. I thought the second team was fine with Anthony Davis, Durant, Kawhi. I mean, Kawhi actually played the amount of games that were qualifying for the awards. I can't even be mad because the Clippers, what were they, 5th this season?
My fault. Yeah, they were 4th.
So I'm not mad at that one. And
I mean,
else.
To me, Kawhi wasn't even. Kawhi would be the one guy that you can make an argument against. I don't think he was the most deserving. I see some people commenting about LeBron and they were a playing team. I mean, so with Golden State and Steph, but Steph made 13. If we're gonna complain, LeBron, they was a playing team. How he made an All NBA team? How did Steph make an All NBA team? If your logic and your argument for it is that they were a playing team, right? To me, I think Maxey might have been a little more deserving than Kawhi. I think Paul George was more consistent this year than Kawhi, so he's somebody else you could add in the conversation. And then if we want to go fresh faces, I don't know how Wembanyama doesn't make an All NBA team, at least a third All NBA team, because he probably should have won Defensive Player of the Year this year. So I wouldn't have minded if Wembanyama would have made the third team. But overall, I think the teams are pretty fair, as you mentioned. I'm biased because I'm a Knicks fan, but Jalen Brunson, I've heard people make the argument, he was 5th overall in MVP voting. Yeah, but he still wasn't better than Shea and Luka. Like, let's keep it a buck. And you guys know how I feel about Shea, because Shea was my preseason pick for MVP. So he wasn't better than those 2 guys. But I think the list overall, I think it's fair overall, and I think that everybody landed where they was supposed to. Kawhi is the one guy I would have an issue with because I don't even think he was the most consistent or best player on his own team. I think Paul George had the better overall season in terms of consistency with the Clippers, and he probably would have been more deserving of Kawhi than Kawhi, I should say.
Yeah, and also I think Sabonis is on here. He was also on the playing tournament too.
Yeah.
So he's another guy.
So Sabonis had a good year as well. And I think that's probably where the list stops because we know you got to have a certain amount of games played, and that played a big factor as well. Because Embiid would have made an All NBA team had he not got hurt, so that changes the dynamic as well.
That is true. If Embiid doesn't get hurt, then what I'm saying he's definitely on the second team. If he doesn't get hurt, because I don't know if and probably he could have been first team. Who knows? Because statistically, he's gonna have the numbers to it. He could be MVP as well if he's actually healthy. You know what I'm saying, and playing. So
before he got hurt, Embiid was looking like he was going to be a back-to-back MVP. Let's call it what it is. And Kyrie, I see your comment. He said Steph had a better. I knew you was gonna click on it, Trip, because I knew that triggered you right there. Steph was 26, 4, and 5. LeBron was 25, 7, and 8.
And didn't they have the same 3-point percentage?
Similar 3-point percentage. Lakers finished with a better record. I think only by one game. So overall, the team success.
Anyway, so I mean,
I mean overall the team success was similar, but I think LeBron at 25, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. I mean, that's tough to not put on an All NBA team. Let's keep it a buck.
Not to mention he's doing it at 39.
I mean, age aside, I'm just 25, 7, and 8. It's like I don't know how you. I'm not sure how you can keep that off of an All NBA team. I'm not saying I damn sure ain't fighting for him to be first team or second team.
No.
But when we get to that third team status, it's like I don't know how we would keep LeBron off of a third team.
Like y'all, the crazy thing is, Braun ain't got that many years left. Maybe he got 3. You know what I'm saying? But maybe 2. Who knows? Y'all got to put some respect on Braun's name. I'm sorry, man. Y'all got to give him a little more respect than that. Like he's only, arguably the second best player of all time, right? Some people have him as 1, some people have him as 2. And nobody's gonna disrespect and say he's not top 5 though. Like it is what it is. Like we gotta still put some type of respect. I know LeBron gets a lot of hate, but y'all gotta still put respect and appreciate what's going on right now, what he's doing and continuing to do at a point in an NBA career that no one has been able to play at this level for this long at this age. You got to put some respect on that. That's one thing. I wasn't a Kobe fan, but I always respected what Kobe did on the court. You know what I'm saying? Like you still got to.
You took that. No, you didn't. You took that jab at Kobe last week or 2 weeks ago, Trip.
What did I say about
Kobe? I'm not gonna let you forget that. When we were talking about making teammates better, you took that jab at Kobe.
I did take a jab at Kobe, yeah.
Yeah, you did.
But I always say he is one of the all-time greats. I never.
No, that's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just my gripes with Kobe come from off the court stuff that he's been involved in. Most, you know what I'm saying? So, and I'm talking about I'm talking about the snitching stuff. Like I don't like how we don't play that where we from.
He threw Shaq under the bus.
Yeah, and if the crazy thing is the interview with him and Stephen A. Smith after where he was talking about it, and Stephen A. was like checking him like, has he spoken to Shaq since the whole thing happened? That literally popped up on my timeline maybe like an hour or so before we got on the air.
Because you know the Fed's watching. But we had this conversation too earlier this season. I didn't forget because people had asked us who was having a better season, KD or LeBron.
Yeah,
I didn't hear anybody in the comment section question whether KD should have made an All NBA team, and I think LeBron's numbers were better than KD's, and KD was second team All NBA.
Yeah,
and yet, but Jaylen Brown is probably the biggest snub because when you think about it, right, you got the Lakers who have 2 All NBA guys, you got the Suns who have 2 All NBA guys, but Jalen Brunson's impact was probably on a larger scale than like Devin Booker because Jaylen Brown is one of their best defenders, if not their best defender. and he is the quote unquote Pippen to Tatum's Jordan. And yet I think he should have been on an All NBA team, probably over Devin Booker. And some people may not like that, but I thought Brown had a better season than Booker.
So yeah, because that's the thing too, right? The other part of that is there's only 2 guard positions on each one, right? You got two front court.
Not necessarily, because they kind of did away with that because I
that
think
that this year, after that starts next year.
Nah, because on the third team there's 3 guards. You got Steph, you got Halliburton, and you got Booker.
Yeah, you got Booker. So yeah. Then I think that was a snub. For the Celtics to clearly have been the best team in basketball this season, and only one of their players made an All NBA team. You know what I'm saying? Especially when Jaylen Brown was an All-Star as well.
Right.
He should have been up here.
Right.
So this your swap right there. You take Kawhi off and put Jaylen Brown up there.
Right.
In his spot.
And I apologize. I'm trying to get my FanDuel ticket and trip. You know, it's almost. I just realized the time.
Oh,
gotta get a ticket in.
Hoop Central says, what move should the Warriors make this off season? I think they got to stop being stubborn and get some bigs that can score. They're not far off to me as people think. Remember, Draymond missed 25 games, and remember Wiggins left the team again, and Curry missed games, so they could have been a 4th seed. It's possible. I do think they need a big man who can score. I don't know who they can get right now in the off season, but I do think they need some maybe a power forward that can actually put up 22 game, something like that, to help out, because they need more. They need different type of scoring. They still got the shooting down, but you need a big man that can score and rebound. And Draymond is not the defensive player of the year, Draymond, anymore. None of these guys are what they were. Everybody's getting older. But yeah, I would agree with that. I think a big man would help the Warriors a lot. They tried when they drafted what's the dude? The 7-footer they drafted.
Wiseman, James Wiseman.
Yeah, Wiseman. But he just didn't live up to the hype.
Yeah, it was a tough situation for him to get drafted into, though, because they were just coming off the dynasty years and they were hoping to get right back. But Hoop Central, you're right. They are not far off because Draymond doesn't get suspended. They're not a playing team. They would probably have been a 5th or 6th seed. And then, you know, the matchups would have been everything for them. They need a rim runner. Looking at, you know, guys like Daniel Gafford, they need somebody like that, an active big. I don't think they need a big that you just kind of pass the ball to and let him go to work. I think you need a guy who can screen for you and roll to the rim and finish around the rim and be very active on the boards. So I'm using Daniel Gafford as an example because he was one of the significant trades of a big man this season. So they need a guy like that. Trip, I think you and I even talked about this before. Like Mitchell Robinson from the Knicks would actually be perfect for Golden State. His style of play and his defensive ability would be perfect there as well. So they need that. And they need more athleticism on the outside. I thought that Wiggins is never going to be the same. I think we got to come to that conclusion. He's probably never going to be that same guy that we saw in the playoffs 2 years ago. But they need that type of player again, that athleticism and that versatile defender on the perimeter again. So if they could find that could help them out a little bit. And I agree. I think it is time to move on from Draymond. But if you're going to move on from Draymond, you're going to need somebody who can initiate your offense, because I know a lot of people love to put Steph in that point guard conversation, but Steph is really better off ball when he's running off screens and can get open shots and create away from the ball. So get you a true point guard who can create offense for everyone else and allow Steph to play off ball. Those are the 3 things I think they really need.
Kyrie says the Denver Nuggets, to me, they can still win it next year. I think they got to get a solid big and go get Bruce Brown. But do y'all think MPJ should work on his off the dribble game? Okay, so there's a couple of questions here. I do think Denver can get right back to it next year. Hopefully they don't run in to the Timberwolves again, who are equipped to beat them. But yeah, why not? I mean, we're not talking about a team that's well past his prime. We're talking about a team that's just getting into his prime.
Mm-hmm.
So they can definitely be back. They're going to be one of those teams that are consistently on deep runs in the playoffs for at least the next 5 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I agree with that. Should Michael Porter work on his off off the dribble game. I think Michael Porter Jr. should work on a lot of assets to his game. You should be trying to improve on everything in the offseason. Whatever you're not good at, you should be working on improving. Because you know what I'm saying, you did not play well in this series. Michael Porter Jr. I'm speaking on. He did not
especially the last couple games.
Yeah, he did not have a good series. So yeah, he needs to go back to the drawing board. And Michael Porter Jr. is somebody who I like a lot coming out of college. I thought he was one of the ones I thought the Knicks should have went just and
Stop.
that
Why
shit.
are you doing this, Trip? You doing this on purpose? Because we were in studio that night when the Knicks see. That's why you laughing, because you think you go just slide that comment in there. We were in studio that night.
Kevin Knox that year, right? Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. It needed to be said. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Eric. I'll let you take this over.
This guy Trip, you love these jabs on top of jabs consistently from my brother Trip Young.
Hoop Baller Scoop agrees with you, by the way. He said Gafford is perfect for the Warriors.
I think he would be there as well. I agree with Hoop Baller Scoop. But Denver just needs depth. They got to get back to where they were last year. And it's crazy because shout out to the supporters, because all year that was a running theme and running dialogue in the comment section. Could they survive the loss of Bruce Brown and Jeff Green? Come playoff time, we saw that talent-wise, they just didn't have enough depth, especially for Minnesota, where Minnesota was throwing the two bigs at you, but then also at Naz Reid coming off the bench, and Naz has been phenomenal as a six-man. So Denver needs a little bit more depth. Probably go back and get Bruce Brown. I think a veteran point guard for the Nuggets would be very great for them as well, because there's so much pressure put on Joker and Murray to run their offense that I think if you could find a veteran point guard that can give you a quality 16 to 20 minutes off the bench. No disrespect to Reggie Jackson, but Reggie Jackson's more of a shooter. He's not a traditional point. Yeah, he's not a traditional point guard that can get you into your offense. That's what they really need.
I'm gonna throw a name out there. I'm gonna get your take on this one. Russell Westbrook.
I think Russ gives him great energy. It's interesting because I think Russ still gives you, like I said, great energy, and Russ is still an above average player, but he doesn't give you enough floor spacing though. He can't really shoot the ball. Like, I think you need that combination. That's what made their team last year so unique, that they had these multiple creators as well as shooters. So I don't think Russ gives them enough floor spacing. That would be my main concern.
Okay, because I'm trying to think of what other point guards would they be able to get in a backup.
I got a point guard in mind, but I want him to come to the Knicks. So if he goes to Denver, I'll be highly upset. I'm be honest. I'm gonna be biased in this. Malcolm Brogdon.
Okay.
I love Malcolm Brogdon's game, especially at this point in his career. He would be perfect for the Denver Nuggets. But I want him to come to the Knicks because we need a veteran backup point guard.
All right. Going to once again.
Here we go. Here we go.
They want us to talk about it. How Uncle Murder say that when they want me to talk about it, so we're gonna talk about it. It's like the end of the year wrap up. All right. Shout out to Dion Hoops page. He says to you both, if you're the Lakers GM/owner, LeBron James will be 40. So when do you say, okay, we got to think about our future? Rich Paul and LeBron at this stage can't run my team. This is Anthony Davis' team now. When Anthony Davis steps his game all the way up and takes it to the next level, when he put his step on the league, when he get an MVP or something like that, it's gonna be hard for right now because LeBron is already him, and Anthony Davis hasn't really taken over the team. He's played the best this season, but I don't think he's taken over to where it's like, all right, he's the face of the Lakers now. Like, the face of the Lakers is still gonna be Braun. So I think it'll be a couple of years, another year or two before that happens. And unless the Lakers win a championship next year and Anthony Davis is the Finals MVP, I think it's still gonna be the same way. Sorry.
I think what you said, Trip, is a little unfair because I think Anthony Davis was really great the last month and a half of the season and even into the playoffs. He played really well. And I do agree with Dion Hoops page. If I'm the Lakers, I'm not allowing LeBron to dictate or control this situation any longer. We're going to hire the coach that we want to hire. We're going to make the moves we want to make. And if LeBron wants to be here, great. But if he doesn't, then he needs to find another team that's going to allow him to do whatever he wants and control things behind the scenes. Because as I've highlighted many times, the Lakers allowed LeBron to break down their roster. They allowed him to kind of handpick the coaches he wanted. They allowed him to dictate how they were going to play and what type of team they were going to be. And at some point, no disrespect to LeBron, but at some point you got to say enough is enough. Like, we got our one chip with you. It was great. Thank you. But we can't be making moves for you on a year-to-year basis when ultimately our goal should be, how can we be competitive for the next 5 to 10 years? And so if I'm, man, I can't think of his name. Oh, Rob Pelinka.
Yeah.
My conversation with LeBron is this: look, we would love to have you here. We want you to be a part of this next year. We want you to retire as a Laker, but you're not going to have the imprint on what we do moving forward. You got to be willing to just be one of the guys at this point. And if LeBron can't do that, I get it. We wish you the best, and find another team that will allow you to have more control. But
are they going to do that? Is the question.
They have to.
That's what
they have to, Trip, because what was the point of trading all of those young assets for Anthony Davis if you're not going to hand them the keys at some point?
Yeah, listen,
I'm just saying, like, think about, you traded Ingram, Hart, Lonzo Ball, and all those first round picks for Anthony Davis. Any other team makes that type of trade, you're basically saying you are going to be the face of our franchise moving forward. At some point, you got to hand the keys and say, this is Anthony Davis's team, and we're going to build this around Anthony Davis. And I know, Trip, I understand LeBron's status in the game and what he's accomplished, but we can't keep rewarding you for past glory. Where we're at today is you are a 39-year-old ball player who has 20 years under your belt. You're as great of a season as you had at 39 years old. You're not the LeBron of 6 years ago, 7 years ago, who can carry this on your own. You need a lot of help as well. So allow us to build the team the right way or move on.
Now, the problem with that is and they've shown us from the history that they're going to do the opposite with that. Because if you think that Kobe wasn't in charge of damn near everything that was going on up until he retired,
that's a different conversation. Though Kobe was a lifelong Laker.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, as far as being that guy on the team and the history of the Lakers, is they're gonna still cater to that guy. I'm not even saying I'm on the side of you should handle things differently. I'm saying, just based off of what I've seen from their history, it's going to take a little bit more for them to see, especially if you're talking about now. All right, now let's get to where Anthony Davis is the guy where he's making all these decisions. It's going to take a while for them to get to that point, because I don't think he's done enough to where they're going to be like, all right, yeah, now it's official. We don't see that ascension that we need to see, and it's on him, and everything needs to be focused on that now.
But at what point? At what point do we get there then? Because at this point, if you're the Lakers, you've had Anthony Davis on your roster now 4 seasons.
That's why, right? I said it's so hard.
No, but hold on. Hear me out, right? Because this might go more towards Rich Paul than the actual players, right? Rich Paul represents both. If I'm the Lakers and I had Anthony Davis on my team for 4 years, and if I don't feel that you are in a position to carry this team, then why am I moving forward with both you guys? We traded all these assets away to bring in Anthony Davis to be the future big man of this franchise. And if Anthony Davis isn't ready to carry the load, pause, then we need to move on from you too.
Because again, I'm not disagreeing with you.
I just don't. To me, I just don't feel like at this point we've seen enough basketball from LeBron James and Anthony Davis to have a clear indication as to what direction we're moving. So, if I think Anthony Davis is the guy moving forward, then it's got to be all about Anthony Davis and building a team around Anthony Davis. And LeBron James, for as great as he has been his whole career, has to be on board with that. And LeBron can't now try to dictate, well, no, I want to do it. No, LeBron, you had your time. That's it. You had your time. Like I said, I don't think the comparison to Kobe is fair, because Kobe was a lifelong Laker. Kobe won 5 championships for the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron has won 1. LeBron is phenomenal, but LeBron is not a lifelong Laker.
No.
And so if you're the Lakers, if you're Rob Pelinka, I'm moving forward. I'm building this thing around Anthony Davis. My next head coach is going to be a guy that is going to get the most out of Anthony Davis, not a guy who's comfortable with LeBron. That's why I don't like the whole JJ Redick conversation. nothing against JJ Redick. I think he's a high IQ guy, but to bring in JJ just because that's LeBron's guy would be another indication of you're letting LeBron run the show. Why are you letting LeBron run the show at this point in his career?
That's what they do. I'm saying I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, is that what's going to happen? I'm not.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna be an interesting aspect in this whole LeBron saga this summer. We saw him sitting courtside at the Cleveland game. Cleveland just fired their head coach. I'm very interested to see who Cleveland brings in as their head coach, because if they think they got a chance to bring LeBron back home to end off his career, they're gonna hire somebody that they know LeBron will co-sign.
Yeah.
But in terms of the Lakers, to fully answer this question right now, I'm going all in with Anthony Davis. I'm finding me shooters for Anthony Davis. I'm finding me a young point guard to pair with Anthony Davis, and I'm going that route. I'm not catering to LeBron James. I'm sorry. I am not catering to LeBron James at this point in his career.
Once again, I said I'm not disagreeing with Eric. What I said was, is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, but the question was, what do we think they should do? What do you think they should do? No, we're gonna put you on the spot, Trip. Should they cater to LeBron James?
Well, first of all,
no. Should they cater to LeBron James?
From a business standpoint, you got to do what's best for the organization. Now, if that's moving towards Anthony Davis and what we're going to be doing in the future, then yeah. But is that what's going to happen? I don't know. It's a good chance that that's not what's going to happen.
What would you do?
I just said
no. What? No, you said they. I want to hear what would Trip Young.
Right.
You're the GM. You're the GM as of right now. What would you do?
If I'm the GM right now, I would see how much it's going to first of all cost us to go get Donovan Mitchell. That's one. If I'm bringing Donovan Mitchell over,
here we go.
To the Lakers next season. That's what I'm focused on right now. Is trying to see if I can get Donovan Mitchell. All right, that's what.
So you're catering to Braun.
That's what I'm out at with it. Well, did the Braun say he wanted Donovan Mitchell?
No, but you're saying that because you know that the three All-Stars together gives Braun a chance to try to win next year.
I mean, I always want Braun to get an extra ring, so I'm not opposed to that.
Come on, Trev.
This summer's USA team, me and my uncle debating. He says the team is old with Curry, LeBron, KD, Kawhi, etc. It's one of the oldest USA teams ever. I know they got young dogs, Ant-Man, Booker, and Tatum. I don't think this team is too old because first, ain't nobody around the world messing with this team. And don't forget, they still got Embiid, still got Bam. Like Tatum is young, Booker is young, Anthony Edwards, like all these guys are young. Like, yeah, maybe that's four guys: Curry, LeBron, KD, and Kawhi. That's only four guys on the squad. But I mean, still, those four guys, it's not even going to be close with what the rest of the world is gonna put out there, right? Because one thing we always have to keep in mind is when you start going to all these other countries, maybe you might find a country that has three guys that are NBA talents, right? That they've played in the league, they're playing in the league currently, or they were good enough to make it to the league, right? So I'd say three, right? But out of those three, when we start getting to all right, now we're talking about this is an all NBA level player, then that number you might have one on each one of these in each one of these countries that's all NBA, right? So let's say you got Luka is gonna be one who's an all NBA level player. Who else in from his country is an all NBA level talent, right? Or let's go to where's Jokic playing, right? You're gonna see Jokic is all NBA talent. After that, there's not gonna be this. I don't think there's a country outside of the United States that has more than one player that is at an all NBA level.
It's not true. Canada's probably got the most outside of us. Canada probably got the most NBA talent on their team. Now, if they can come together and win it all, because again, Shea is going to be at the head of all that. But you got some really good players over with Canada. Obviously, RJ Barrett is over there. Laurie Markkinen. I think Laurie play for them. I think. Nah, Laurie probably doesn't play for them. I'm getting them confused somewhat. But Canada got about 5 or 6 NBA guys on their roster.
Okay, how many of them are all NBA?
Shea, Jamal Murray.
Jamal Murray's the All NBA team.
Caliber player? Yeah, he's an All NBA caliber player. He didn't make the All NBA team.
He has not ever made an All NBA team.
No, but is he not an All NBA caliber player?
I can't give. He's an All Star. I think he's a superstar. But All NBA.
No, I'm saying, but is he not like that type of player where he's like you can have the right? So he's like right. So
okay, so I'll give you two.
Canada's probably the closest team.
Now where we going after those two?
I mean, yeah, they got NBA players.
That's what I'm saying. So there's nobody. So that's what I'm saying. So nobody has more than two All NBA caliber players in the world.
Right, but the tricky part with Team USA isn't going to be how much star power they have or All NBA star power they have.
Guys play together.
Right. It's going to really be for Steve Kerr finding the lineups that work, especially late in games, because these other countries, remember, they play together year round. So
master at that.
He's going to have to be, because these other countries, they play together year round. So they don't care about your star power. They're comfortable in who they are as a team. FIBA rules are not going to be as ticky-tack. You're not going to get to the free throw line as much.
Yeah.
So there's going to be that level and that element to pay attention to, because in the NBA, a lot of these stars, specifically Joel Embiid, who live at the free throw line, that's not going to happen in international play. You're not going to get to the free throw line 16 times a game. For Team USA, in terms of age, it is a little older, but to be fair, Ron, we're not asking Curry, Braun, KD, and Kawhi to play 30 minutes a night. Those guys are only going to probably be asked to play 15 to 20 minutes a night, because you got to get everybody involved. And I think Steve Kerr, as they get closer to the medal rounds, will probably have a rotation of 8 or 9 guys that he really trusts. And that will be the guys that will play the most. And it will be some combination of, Curry and LeBron with a couple young guys. But I just think the versatility of Team USA, that to me is the one thing that sticks out the most. It's they can beat you so many different ways. So many guys that can create their own shot. If Embiid stays on this team, again, Embiid, the only big man that's better than Embiid in the NBA right now is Joker. Other than that, Embiid is going to dominate every other big man in international play.
Shoot, Bam might dominate every other big man in international play, with the exception.
Right.
So it is what it is. Pooh, I got you. We ain't forget about you. We're going to get to your question to end the show off. And yes, we're about to start talking WNBA for a little bit right now. Ron Charles says Caitlin Clark hasn't been playing well overall, but against the Sparks, she hit 2 clutch threes for the win. Then lost to the Aces last night at 8 points. Our players playing even harder against her. I'm sure they leveling up, just but that's just how it is. That's how it goes with all the rookies coming in. That's why in the NFL they had the phrase "Welcome to the league, Rook." They was beating down on the rookies. Like, that's just what it is. Like, this ain't just to let you know, I don't care how good you was in college. You're not just coming in here and setting the tone. No, you got to understand the game at this level. And I think she's going to do that over time, and she'll be just fine. That's why you said, yeah, she can hit 2 clutch threes, because one, she is a great shooter. So she's fully capable of doing that. She's just a great shooter and a great player who's on a very bad team right now. They finally got their first win, but it's not enough. They're not a team that is, at least from the looks of things right now, no matter how great Caitlin Clark is, they're going on a deep playoff run. They're not even going to make the playoffs. Right now they're 1-5 on the season, but Caitlin Clark will continue to get better as she gets adjusted to the game. That's just it. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's a bad team. She's going to struggle. But also, as we highlighted last week too, like if you look at the schedule, they play Connecticut twice. They played the Liberty twice. They had the Aces now. It hasn't been easy teams. Like these are very good teams that she's playing against. And Caitlin Clark went straight from a deep March Madness run, because they were in a championship game, right into this new WNBA season. And I think she's still adjusting. She's adjusting to her teammates. She's adjusting to the lifestyle of a WNBA player. This typically would have been her off season. Let's keep that in mind as well. And she hasn't had the opportunity to kind of rest up. So I expect her to get better as the season goes along. She will, I think, adjust to the level of competition. I don't think players are playing against her harder. I just think the level of competition is better.
Yeah.
Again, you're playing
Physicality of the WNBA.
right. You're playing the very best in the world. This isn't like when you're in college and this night you might get a really tough team, and then the next night you're playing against lesser competition. This is the best of the best. So I expect her to get better as the season goes on. And these are, rookie hiccups. When you're the number one pick and you're on a bad team, you're gonna have some struggles, man. You're not on a situation where your team is loaded. You're not in a situation where you can kind of hide. All of this pressure and the spotlight is on Caitlin.
Yeah. Ron says one thing. I don't know if it's Caitlin, but other WNBA games have big crowds. It's great to see. It's not first of all, it's not just Caitlin, because it'd be one thing if teams were sold out on a night that they're playing Indiana. Teams were just selling out, period. So they ain't just Caitlin. She's a big part of that. This rookie class is a big part of that. But WNBA has been, doing what they got to do to these past couple of seasons. So yeah, they're gonna start to sell more tickets. It's real. I told you when I spoke to the plug over at the Barclays Center, he told me you couldn't get courtside seats for the Liberty. I was tight, you know what I'm saying? But he was like, yeah, you can't get that. That's sold out already. I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, shout out to the ladies, man. They're doing their numbers right now.
I think it's been phenomenal for the ladies. And I think this is something that just didn't start this year. I think last year, with the way that the Liberty put their team together and the Aces, we started to see people start to pay more attention, pay more attention to the star power and the quality of play. And then you have this incoming rookie class with Caitlin Clark, with Angel Reese, with Cardoza. So the WNBA, I think they got to capitalize on this. I think it's been amazing, and they had an opportunity to do something very special with this incoming rookie class.
Exactly. Before I get to Pooh's comment, we got to talk a little bit of boxing news right now. I said last week, we both kind of agreed last week. We were hoping that the test didn't come back positive. Ryan Garcia's blood work, just because we didn't want to have that type of a black eye on the sport of boxing. But ultimately, that is what happened. Ryan Garcia's B sample did test positive. They haven't decided just yet what they're gonna do as far as with the fight or with Ryan Garcia. Um, I'm really disgusted by this, and the fact that, like, if it was a close fight and Ryan Garcia edged and got the decision, that probably, so I probably would feel differently. I know a lot of people would feel differently, but the fact that he dominated Devin Haney the way he did, and then you tested positive for a banned substance, now people are just going to look at that completely differently. What was your take on that last test coming back and being testing positive?
It's corny, it's whack, and Ryan Garcia completely disrespected the sport of boxing. And I know he's going to try to appeal it, and the appeal is ultimately going to be the deciding factor on whether this victory is overturned and becomes a no contest on both records, and if he will get suspended and for how long. He probably will be suspended no matter what, but the length of the suspension is going to be dictated by this appeal. But the reason I say he disrespected the sport of boxing, he came in 3.5 pounds overweight, first and foremost. Then after winning the fight, the way he talked about his preparation for the fight, where he said, yeah, I drank and smoked the whole time leading up to this fight. And then we find out about the steroids. To me, it's completely disrespectful. We have seen people die in the ring and in the sport of boxing. And for you to disrespect, no matter how you feel about Devin Haney, and this isn't a defense of Devin Haney. Devin Haney, we were there that night. We walked away from it like, wow, he took a bad loss. But the one thing I will say about Devin Haney is he has not disrespected the sport. He's been ready to fight, in shape, every time that his name has been called and every time he's been a headline. And for Ryan Garcia to disrespect the sport and his opponent in that way, to me, just doesn't sit right. I'm a huge fan of the sport of boxing. I commend those guys. I always say when we talk to Justin Biggs or Shushu Carrington, like, I applaud what they do, the discipline it takes to be in shape and to go in there knowing that I'm putting my life on the line, because I'm going in there against a guy who's trying to punch me in the face over 100 times tonight, who could really, bring serious damage and harm to me personally and physically. And for Ryan Garcia to disrespect the sport, that to me just doesn't sit right with me. I think that shit is super corny. Sorry, part of my language. It's super corny of Ryan Garcia. And for me, the only thing that Ryan Garcia can do right now, and it's not going to make it right, but Ryan Garcia, you got to show a level of maturity and accountability. And you got to apologize not only to the sport of boxing, but apologize to Devin Haney. Because again, if you took a substance that you knew helped you, cut weight while keeping your body mass and could have helped you that night, that is disrespectful to Devin Haney and Devin Haney's family, that you put his life on the line and you had complete disregard for the sport, that I'm just going to do what I want to do. You got to take.
He did die in the ring,
right? Like
that was a bad beating.
It was a bad beating, and Devin Haney, to his credit, we talked about it that night. Devin Haney wouldn't stay down. Devin Haney kept getting up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Devin Haney's pride wouldn't allow him to just stay down, and that's how fighters get hurt. You know what I'm saying? And we saw a situation where, like years ago, when Margarito beat Cotto and he had the loaded hand wraps, right? And Cotto for like 3 years wasn't the same mentally, because when you take that type of beating in the ring, psychologically, it does something to you. As a man, if you've never been hit that way and beaten that way, to now, take that type of punishment, it's like you start to wonder, like, man, is this for me? Like, what am I doing?
He was on a great pace too at that.
Right. Cotto was on the verge of being one of the all-time greats, and still is one of the all-time great Puerto Rican fighters. But for Devin Haney to have to experience that in front of his family, his mom was in the crowd. People seeing that, and it makes you psychologically wonder, like, is this sport for me? Ryan Garcia, to me, has to show a level of accountability for what he did. He has to. And I think, like I said, it's whack, and it's disgusting for the sport of boxing, because we're at the halfway point of the year. That night trip, we walked away from the Barclays like, man, this is one of the great nights in boxing. It was a huge upset. It was a great fight. And they did it in New York. They did it at the Barclays. Like, it was so many positives that came out of that fight to now. Here we are a month and a half later, and it's like, man, like, don't tell me you cheated, bro. Don't tell me you was taking PEDs before the fight, and that's what really helped you that night. So it's so many things about that. Ryan Garcia, do the right thing, bro. Take accountability, take your suspension, and apologize to Devin Haney, because that's, to me, is whack.
Exactly. Let me go to Pooh's comment, and we're gonna get ready to get up out of here because it is game time. Shout out to Pooh. Yo, I have at the end of the show question to both of you. Is there a person or person you met that you were in awe of or was nervous meeting? Eric?
I wasn't in. No, I'm not even gonna say that. I was a little bit in awe, because I gotta be real, but I'm disappointed because the encounter didn't go the way I thought.
Okay.
Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson was a childhood hero of mine, and I'm not gonna slander his name, but when I met him, it just, the circumstances wasn't right. I'm just gonna leave it at that. And his demeanor wasn't right. And so that was one of them that I was kind of like, man, I wish that encounter would have gone differently. I wouldn't say nervous. I don't think there's anybody I've been nervous. I've had the opportunity to meet Carmelo Anthony a couple of times. Shout out to Melo. He even signed one of the basketballs I have for my daughter. We got to meet, the legend Killer Cam. We know what that means, for where we come from. I still show off that picture all the time. But I would say the one person probably in awe was AI. And I'm sure at some point we'll cross paths again, and that encounter would be different.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I was in awe of somebody that I met. I guess the closest would probably be Halle Berry. And that was, shout out to our other co-host Emerald. Emerald was on the red carpet, and I was shooting the red carpet, and it actually turned into this whole big viral moment where Halle Berry's publicist was trying to like rush her past all of the black media outlets that were at the premiere for John Wick 3, because it was actually a couple of blocks from the TV station, and because where the TV station is in Brooklyn is like maybe 3-4 blocks away from the Barclays Center. So where we were at for the premiere was like right in between the Barclays Center and the TV station. So we actually went over there, shot the interview, and then ran back over to the studio because we had to be on the air, because it was actually the premiere was the same night that we were supposed to be live on Thursday. But I think that one probably, but just because I'm such a big Halle Berry fan. Other than that, generally when we interview people, I'm not in awe of them. Even if I'm a huge fan of them, I'm not in awe of them in the moment that we're interviewing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really like that. It would probably be more if I met somebody. Like if I met Hove, I probably would be in awe. Like, yo, oh, this is Hove. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's different. But other than that, probably MJ I would feel that way about too.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mike. Mike probably would be the one that is like, wow, like just all the childhood memories. And I hated Mike. I'm not even gonna lie, I hated Mike. As a Knick fan, y'all don't know, man. I hated
Yeah.
Mike. I wanted to see Mike fail so many times. I'm not gonna lie, but man, Michael
Yeah.
Jordan, yeah.
I was talking to somebody the other day. I was at a shoot the other day, and it was an older gentleman I was speaking with, and he was talking. He's a Knicks fan, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not really. I was telling him I'm not a Knicks fan because I grew up a Michael Jordan fan. He was like, oh man, because the pain, and I just growing up around Knicks fans, my father being a diehard Knicks fan, the pain that MJ caused. Like I know, and people talk about because they went back against the Reggie
Yeah,
Miller
Reggie,
thing.
yeah.
Reggie Miller ain't do nothing to the Knicks because he ain't
Nah,
really, MJ though because remember because Reggie wasn't winning championships either. I was like, whatever. We got one. We got y'all this year. Y'all got us next year. Whatever. But with MJ it was different because he was winning and he was dominating everybody, and they had some wars, the Knicks and the
yeah.
Bulls. So he would be the guy.
It's crazy. I always say this too. Like Mike, when we talk about Mike stopped so many legends winning rings.
Mm-hmm.
If you look, the moment Mike retired both times, that very next season, the Knicks went to the finals. That's how often Mike was in our way. Like they won that first three-peat. As soon as he retires, the Knicks go to the finals the very next year. They win that second three-peat. The moment he retires, the Knicks go to the finals the very next year. Mike was in our way every year.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many times, man, where it's like, oh my God, man, it's how many ways can this guy break our heart? I'll never forget too when he came back after the first retirement. And the Knicks had just played in the finals that year before. So it was like, yo, we good now. We ready.
Get him this year. Nope.
And he comes first game back in the Garden, drops double nickel, and then gets the pass to Bill Winnington to win the game. And at that moment, it was like, nah, it's same old ish. Mike back. That's it.
Exactly. But yeah, man. Let's get ready to get into the final thoughts segment of the show. Eric, want to give us a final thought?
Absolutely. As always, first and foremost, want to thank the supporters, man. We greatly appreciate you guys. You guys don't even realize how much energy you guys give us. We log in and we see all the comments already ready to go, and it hypes us up. So we hope you guys continue to show that support. The game is on right now. We talked about Jaden McDaniels. He's also a good start trip. He's 3 for 3 with 7 points. Yeah. Anthony Edwards has 7 points right now. Luka and PJ Washington both have 5. Derek Lively with 6 already off the bench. Dallas up 2 in the first quarter, so that's already shaping up to be a good start.
Next, go up 3-0.
Yeah, Luka's playing. I told you got to go for the kill shot. Pooh, I see your question. Yes, we're gonna get back. We were doing the Friday night lives. Will Gordon and I are still working on that. Our schedules kind of got thrown off, so we got to figure out a time slot. But we're gonna get back to that very soon. So we didn't forget about that. Tune in next week. We got a lot going on, man. And make sure if you guys are in the New York City area, not only are you tuning in to Real Fans Real Talk, but get your tickets for Ball for Peace. It's going down in 2 weeks. You're not going to want to miss it. Shout out to our brother H2O. He puts together an amazing event. So if you've never been, trust me, you're going to want to be in the building that night because he's always going to have some surprises. And as we mentioned, the Knicks will be in the building as well, Trip.
That's a fact. And I just seen Nikki Avery's going to be playing again. I know y'all like Nikki Avery. She's going to be out there balling as well. And of course, A Bud is going to pull up and be our special guest judge on that one. I'm gonna take my final thought and shout out Angel Reese. I just seen she is now a part owner of the DC Power Football Club, which is a pro soccer team in your area. Eric?
Shout out to the Bayou Barbie. Oh, she said she don't want to be the Bayou Barbie no more, right?
She said that. I don't know.
She in Chicago now.
Well, listen, whatever she gonna be, I'm proud of her for standing on business and setting the tone and showing the woman like, yeah, these are things you need to be doing to build that brand because the more things that you do like this, the more eyes that are ultimately going to be brought onto the WNBA and what you women have going on, and showcase even more how great the players are that are in the WNBA. So big shout out to Angel Reese on that one, and of course shout out to my New York Yankees, kicking ass and taking names right now, second overall, but first in the American League, and all of that without our best pitcher, our ace. Cy Young Award winner Garrett Cole, who should be back later. Well, I guess next month in June, he should be back. So big shout out to the Yankees on that one. Make sure you guys are following us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter at Real Fan Talk, Facebook.com/, for the fans productions. And of course, subscribe to that YouTube channel, youtube.com/, for the fans productions. If you're not in the New York City area, you can't watch us on Thursday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. on Verizon 43. Don't worry, you can hit that website up, realfansrealtalk.com. Click that red button on the homepage. You can watch them anywhere in the world. And I mean, I know y'all are, but just because we get like we had the dude from Belgium checking in the other week, so I gotta still say this. Make sure y'all subscribe to the two best podcasts out here moving, the Sanchez Show and the Real Fans Real Talk podcast. With that being said, for myself, Trip Young, and my co-host, my brother Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games, we up out of here. Peace.